Okay, we should be back on. I think we had a little bit of a microphone issue there, folks. Our apologies for that.
Better. Yeah.
So let's start again.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show. It's episode 2 of our Friday live from the Precision Golf website.
And this proves it.
And this proves it. It really is live, and hopefully we're learning to get better at this stuff. And obviously we're sort of winging it a little bit in this YouTube live and this new media generation. So hopefully some obstacles along the way, and as you just saw, that was one of them. So anyway, let's start again. Welcome to the show, Simon, again, as usual. So how's the week been for you, Simon?
Busy, really busy in the studio. It's been, we've got a lot coming over the next sort of week or so, so it's been really busy back scenes for James and I, but within the fitting bay has been a strong week, actually. So had lots of people in, lots of really kind of different fits going on. So yeah, been fun.
Fantastic.
Fun week. Yeah.
Of course, we saw yourself fitting Jeremy Dale for a recap. Trick shot and PJ Pro, very talented guy. If you've not checked out one of Jeremy Dale's trick shot shows, really do so. I'm sure there's plenty on YouTube and on Jeremy's website. How did that go for you?
Good, interesting. I think Jeremy, as you say, he's got such ability to he doesn't credit himself with it, but to actually make things work. He doesn't change his equipment much, but the variety in swing planes and shots and delivery patterns that he can work with, that you have to make sure you don't allow him time to adjust to the club you're giving him. So sort of trying to sort of maneuver things around and try out different things without giving him too many shots, so that you're just seeing him swing with it. And so some good games with the irons, a bit of tech on the irons. He's got 10, 12-year-old irons, so a bit of thinner face and a bit of ball speed off that with the new Mizuno head for him, but a little bit lighter on the shaft as well. But then the contrast that his current driver and fairway wood are great. So nothing to do at the top of the bag, but a nice gain in the iron. So it's a nice bit of variety.
Yeah, I'm sure it's tricky. Someone that can adapt so quickly, that is a bit of a bar of soap. Can't keep him in any one place at any one time, because he's adapting all the time in his trick shot show, right?
Yeah, and subconsciously adapting. So one of the questions we get asked a lot is from fittings is, is it not very hard to fit someone who's not an experienced golfer? Actually, it's sometimes the opposite. Someone like Jeremy can be very difficult because whatever you hand him, he can make work. So, and without consciously doing it, he's changing his tempo and delivery to suit the club he's got. Whereas, most of us have one swing and one way of moving, and it's almost easier to see very definitely whether something's right or wrong. So for someone like Jeremy, it can be quite tricky.
Yeah,
quite
for
tricky.
sure. Yeah, you never know what's stepping onto your mat. Whether you're coaching or fitting, the ability to adapt to the client in front of you. It's part of the experience that obviously we've got here. But it keeps you on the edge, doesn't it? I still get, when you see someone for the first time, I like that nervousness that makes you feel, what's it going to be today, and what decisions am I going to make to hopefully make the changes positive? Do you feel the same?
Yeah, and you're always watching the first, the warm-up swings that you give people and we give people to kind of say, right, what are we dealing with today? What kind of player? And then you're trying to learn as much about them, how they approach the game, whether they're someone who's more technically minded or someone that's very visual. So how they perceive shots, how they see them, all feeds into, from technique-wise as well, but from a club point of view, the kind of clubs that are going to suit. And so I've always been better at going down, but nothing subtle. I'm not good at anything subtle. So you're trying to work out whether someone's more of a hitter, tempo-related, technique-related at all, or very technical. And you've got to, constantly kind of adapt the way you deliver the data and what you're presenting to them with. It's all different languages. We've all different languages about how we feel things and how we sense things, and trying to interpret that and then pull it all together. It's fun. Yeah, it's fun.
Very much so. So coming up on today's show, we're going to get a little bit more interactive today. We're going to hit some shots, and hopefully that will be interesting for you guys to see us hit good and bad ones, hopefully, not less of the bad ones. And also, we want to talk a little bit about live golf. Obviously, some of you are probably fed up with talking about it, but I think from our perspective is that in the media we get told what it should be doing and why it should be this way and that way. And if you've got any questions, it'd be great to hear from you and answer any questions, or give us questions that you'd like answering in terms of what you feel about it and how we feel about it. But I think opening that discussion up, I think would be quite interesting. We're also going to talk about what's been going on with our content, because I think that's really quite interesting, what's coming up next week as well on the show. So plenty to come your way, so stay tuned. And if you haven't checked out our content that's been going out this week, Kate Davey, our in-house strength and conditioning coach, she's put out a lovely, the first episode of her warm-up series that went out Friday Fitness, 9 a.m. every week. So check that out. That's on our YouTube channel. So plenty coming your way. So, Simon, I think it's only time that we get to see you give it 2 turns and a swish. So what are you going to start off with?
The shortest club I've got in the bay.
Well, I don't. Well, I always see.
Start with the 6-iron.
I was always like, the par 3 start was always my worst nightmare, because
Can't think why you brought that up.
Because I always think, and I'm a pro, you're a pro, think shank. I mean, I just couldn't get it out of my head that I could see the hosel staring down.
I can't tell you I was thinking that. I was thinking don't go in the water short or long.
Oh, well, of course, Simon's referencing the Shire that we played on Friday, last Friday afternoon. Yeah. I'd never played it, you'd never played it. Yeah. And of course, most golf courses in the country at the moment are a little bit on the dry side. I was blown away with how good it was.
It was really fun, yeah. As you say, I know of it really well. We know
Sevi Design.
Sevi Design. We know Kerry Manai Davis, whose family own it very well. But the first time I'd been up there, we're spoilt rotten with courses around here, so we don't have to travel very far. No. But I thought it was a really enjoyable. Unsurprisingly, Sevi designed a great match play course, maybe because it was really hard and fast, but the variety of having the 6-3, 6-4, 6-5 is great fun. Berkshire Red, kind of thing. It makes a really, really fun course, and not having 2 of the same following one another.
Yes.
Again.
Yeah.
Great. I was really, really. I'm not going to say pleasantly surprised because I didn't know what to expect really. Yeah. But great fun. No,
of course it's a great golf course to go play, and the first hole is you're welcomed. We played it slightly forward, so it's about 140 yards, but it's off the backs. It's like 170, 80 yards to a green that probably no more than 20 paces deep, quite wide, waterfront, water back. I mean, it certainly grabs your attention straight off the bat. So it's definitely a big recommendation to those of you that haven't played it.
Yeah, so my thought was just make contact, and I did, but about here on the face. Yeah. So I ended up taking a drop.
Yeah, she was moist. She was moist. Yeah. Okay then, Simon. What club did you say you have?
Yes, I got 6-iron.
You got 6-iron. So what are you expecting carry-wise with this shot?
When fully warmed up, I'm sort of 185.
Okay.
So I'd take anything.
Sorry to just talk over you. I might add, everyone, that Simon has hit about 150 balls. 25 balls. He's hit a few before this. So you're looking at a 185 carry.
180, 185 carry.
Okay. Clubhead speed, roughly?
90, 91. Right, when I'm fully warmed up, about 92. Which will be about 84 now. So.
90 miles an hour in an iron. That's a young man's game, Simon. You're not a young man, I've got to tell you.
No, I'm definitely not a young man.
You're not a young man.
How do we fare there? No,
so let's have a little look at his numbers. So he's down 4. It's not too bad. He's a little bit across it, 1 degree, but unfortunately the face was closed to the path.
Old habits
to
die
the
hard.
old pull draw.
Yeah.
That one looked a little bit better. There you go. That was 4.5 down. Exactly the same path. And just left the face open to it a degree, so left him with a little fade. Carry, that was 67.
I'm going to question the ball on that one.
Okay. Well, I mean, listen, it's always good to have a little excuse.
Oh yeah, golfers never wrong. Yeah.
That's really important.
Can't be me.
That's really important. So when you were playing a lot, was there an area of your game that made you feel more uncomfortable than any other?
Short shots, wedges. So wedges. I've always been, as you well know, a little lateral. Always had a lateral move away and then back in. So long game where I'm firing full out, it's fine, apart from the hook. But short game, because I've always got handle forward, and a wet upslope from 50 yards basically means fat. So that's always been. I've always been very bottom hand dominant, a lot of rotation. So wedge game, and it's on, but
Yeah.
it's invariably off.
Yeah.
So worked with you the last few years to lessen my lateral movement, which has improved my wedge game a lot, and chipping and things as well. Actually, really improved. So it's just then seeing the shots the way you're now hitting them. I've always hit 10, 15 yard draw.
Yeah.
So seeing them straighter has been quite an adjustment. Actually.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Of course, we're welcoming all of your questions in, and it looks like we've got a few coming in live as we speak. So AQ says he really enjoyed the Shire. How did that one go? That was
Bit thin.
Bit thin, bit close face to path. So AQ really enjoyed the Shire. Thinking man's course. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right there, AQ. I think it's easy to stand on a lot of the tees and just feel like you can whip driver out and smash it over the corner. I mean, I think the second hole was a classic one for us, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Down around the corner,
Yeah.
you could lay it up short or whip it over the top. But we whipped it over the top, and I don't think either of us made three yet.
Yeah, found sand twice. And,
Yeah. So no, you're absolutely right. It's a good point. So Matt Hyatt, 185, hit it like you mean it, Simon. That's one of our fitters.
It's easy to come from him, who has a much higher club speed than I do.
His day off today. So Sam Hyatt, Matt Hyatt, should I say, is one of our fitters.
Animal.
And if you haven't seen him, he has got club head speed.
So I'm going to replicate Matt's 6-iron club head speed.
Oh, you're going to need to grab for your driver. So Matt Hyatt, I don't think you'll even get it
because
he's 116. He was 116 with his 6-iron. Wasn't he?
All right.
If you think you're getting 116,
No, I'm
that'd
not.
be thrown off the
No.
deck. But Matt Hyatt,
Meters per second.
his 6-iron 215 yards,
Thin
which
again,
was
not even close.
powerful.
106.
Incredibly full.
That's
so
his chippy 6-iron.
You're still 10 short of Matt Hyatt's 6-iron swing speed.
I'm not proud.
Well,
Not much.
well, that you can only play the golf that you've got, right? Yeah. So when you were playing, and of course there's been a great evolution in golf swings now, hasn't there?
Massive.
I mean, I think
Massive.
back in the day it was big leg drives and inside out and try and time it up, and that's kind of how golf coaching was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it was. I remember it was the camera on the shoulder. The cameras that you see in the shops taking beautiful videos. I mean, that was the camera, and then you had to download it. It's just a totally different era, and now everything is so reactive, and the data that we can get when people are hitting shots is completely different. Have you seen an evolution in the golf swings that are on your mat with the better players? I suppose. I mean, club golfers, I think,
very much so.
fundamentally still the same.
Yeah, I think we can see generally fundamental things have improved massively. You're seeing players who are technically much better from a swing numbers point of view, without doubt, and much, much faster. I mean, my driver speed, I'm about 110, 111, and that, for an amateur, used to be quite long. That's really average now for lower handicap players. So the amount of driver speed at 120 we see has noticeably gone up in the last few years, noticeably. And you've got to be technically pretty good to deliver a club at that speed and strike it clean. So I think the better understandings of swing mechanics, the information is out there now as well. You're seeing it on TV with all the players, all the tutorials, things that are going on. And just launch monitors have helped just us understand why certain things happen better. All the old myths that open the club and cut across it to spin it. Well, it doesn't. And certainly with my own game, I come from that old kind of drive the legs, hit the hands, hence my hook. And the work we've done is just stabilised. My miss now is a thin or a heady one that's fairly straight or a slight pull, but the hooks, unless I do something horrible, is just not there anymore. Ironically, I'm now pretty swinging it better than I ever did. I'm just 25 years older and I haven't seen the gym for the last year.
2 miles an hour slower, that's all.
A big change in swing technique improvement over the last few years.
Yeah, and everyone's more clued up on it. I mean, everyone can go and access information on coaching, can't they? I mean, the YouTube is the big driver of that, and being quite honest, I don't, everyone is trying to make everyone better at golf, in terms of golf coaches, and anyone, even an amateur that throws in some words of wisdom. They're only trying to make you better.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there are so many still myths out there, and I don't think we've truly got through to the cleanliness of knowing exactly what goes on, because I think there's still too much. Find an extra 30 yards. Try this. You know, there's still too much of that clickbait golf tips out there, isn't there?
I guess from a coaching point of view, it's a tough one because everyone's looking for that. All golfers are looking for that magic thing, and I think what I've seen from in the fitting bay side of things the last few years with the amount of information online is people trying to have a thing to latch onto. I think you'll probably call it method coaching. But we're all different. We all move differently. We've all got different injuries, or sat at a desk, or different sports, or our bodies function differently. So there can't be that one thing. The principle can be fine as a principle, but it all needs adapting. So what we're seeing is a lot more players who have found something online, latched onto it, but actually going down a route that doesn't suit them. That has increased a hell of a lot over the last few years.
Well, I think this is quite an important time to stress that I'm at the best fitting place, in my belief, in the world. And I've got this little hand-me-down driver that I use.
Use it quite well, though.
It goes quite straight. So this is Nick Doherty's old driver. If you're out there, Nick, watching, thank you very much. I'm still using it. So this is a Callaway X Hot. I love this thing. I mean, I am so scared because the shaft is wearing out. As it's not looking the best. What am I losing out by using this driver?
Off-centre performance. That's really the main thing. Right. Is that out the middle? I think from
I'm going to hit some while you're talking.
Technology point of view, it's not the middle of the face that's improved because that'd be illegal. So they've got limitations on how fast the middle of the face can go. What has improved is, and the bit that they can make faster is off-centre. So it's with that head, if you toe it or heel it, the head's going to distort more. You're going to get more gearing, more shape. You're going to lose more ball speed. So what has happened over the years, and that's part of the reason why the tour players are hitting it further and further and further, is the heads are better if you don't middle it.
Right.
So it allows you to hit it harder and get away with more. So the stability of the head's now off-centre. That's the bit that they're eking a little bit more performance out of every year.
Yeah, because I mean it's certainly something that I am awfully worried about when I use this driver. That I feel like if I don't catch it, it's going to be quite. I mean, particularly out the toe, it feels very, very toe bias. I even look out the toe, and she definitely wants to go down the left.
And the toe miss for someone like you, I take that last swing 3 degrees from the inside. If you get the toe strike, what happens is that as the ball strikes the toe, which I think the best angle to do it, but like that way, as the ball strikes the toe of the head twists that way. So what happens is the ball actually rolls in. So as the toe gears out, the ball gears in. So the draw spin comes in, and that takes off backspin. So for you, that means duck hook, which we're all absolutely scared witless of. Whereas a heel strike will hold a bit of spin on and hold its line. It's actually a much safer miss. But that's where, again, moving CG back, lightening the crown, lightening the face, it spreads the weight from that centre point, and that resists some of that twisting. So reduces the gearing and reduces the shot shape.
I'm a little bit upset at the fact that I'm only swinging this at 102 miles an hour. I might add that
you haven't loosened up.
Exactly, Simon. I'm glad you've said that. I might have to try and hit it a bit harder. Have I got any more club head speed? Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I got 107.
So I was playing around.
For anyone who's on. Certainly on our work chat following last week, there was one tee shot that Stuart hit very well, and I clearly missed it massively. And
of course you did.
He sent a photo looking back into the distance of me playing my second shot. So, yeah.
Yeah, we may have to publish that in the comments below somehow. So I think we've just got a question coming in.
So I have a question regarding my bag setup for the Halford Hewitt each year. So Halford Hewitt's a tournament for public school alumni. There are 64 schools, It's foursomes scratch match play, so 5 pairs each team, and it's the biggest tournament in the world in terms of participating golfers.
Is it?
It is, yeah. It's exactly the same as I play the rest of the year. So being links golf, it's always at Royal Sankport, host the Hewitt. Prince's host the Plate, and Royal St George's help out with the first 2 rounds for the main tournament, which sadly my school generally don't go past the first round. We have won the Plate. We lost the final this year, but we have won the Plate. But being links golf, a lot of players would have a different setup, but I've always been a long iron player, so I play a driving iron anyway, 2 iron in my bag. So because of that, it stays the same. If I was someone who had a higher ball flight, I would put a 2 iron in my bag for that week because of the nature of the course is long par 3s in the wind, to bring that flight down and forwards and run it out a bit more. And then probably a fairway wood or a hybrid for Parkland golf. But because I've always been someone who flights it and spins it a lot, the 2 iron for me it's a club that I've always relied on well. I've always hit, long irons are the best bit of my game, so I've always hit the well. So I don't actually change my set makeup whatsoever.
Yeah, I always...
I just put the waterproofs in the bag.
Yeah. I've never really subscribed to that set makeup change because I've always felt like I've got a relationship with a golf club. You know, like if someone suddenly changed the drive out, I feel like I've got... Part of my confidence with this drive is that I've
But
got
that's one of the clubs you wouldn't change. So the bits you'd change would be more... The only bits of the bag that I would ever advocate changing would be... so for someone like you, links golf and let's say Wentworth West Course, if take 2 really different styles of course, is at Wentworth you want a high-flighted, soft landing club to come into the par 5s because they've got water hazard short, small greens, which is the worst club into wind. Yeah. So you'd have the low-flighted club for the wind play and for chasing the ball in, the links, and the high-flighted club for someone like the West Course. And the only other club potentially would be the lob wedge. Different grind. So if it's really hard, firm links turf, tight links turf, then you might put a lower bounce wedge in for links and a slightly kind of higher bounce for softer conditions. But those would be the only 2 clubs that I would generally change.
So let's have a little look, see what else is coming in. AQ says, looks great. Don't be shy with the gags. They're so bad, they're good. Well, there you go.
Well,
there you go. It's good to know.
We missed our calling.
It's good to know. It's good to know. Thank you. And yes, he says the balls are broken. Yeah, the ball's not going far enough. Yeah.
Well, there was one. There was one that definitely was.
So Ant Lockyer, welcome along again, Ant, a very good friend of mine. Switching to a hybrid after my fitting has changed my golf for the better. And he plays links golf 99% of the time. He plays at Littlestone. Yeah. So he's someone that's playing on fast and firm fairways, and he prefers the hybrid.
It's going to be a bit of... So my game's always been spinny. I've always spun it a lot. So if I played a hybrid on a links course, in crosswinds or interwind, it would be like hitting a brick wall. So it's partly, again, what's your ball striking like with a long iron, what's your flight like, and you're using the clubs to suit that player and the type of shot that they need, that bit of the club, what they need it for. So for me, it's a teeing off club most of the time, or I'm trying to fizz it out flat and low. Whereas if it's something they're using as a fairway club more regularly, a hybrid's a lot more forgiving. So if you're a low ball hitter, a hybrid then gets it airborne. So it's not a hard and fast rule for sure, but you're going to see, like if you look at the tour guys, most of them will put a 2-iron in the bag at the Open. Most of them will put a lower bounce wedge in the bag for the Open. But if you get a low spin, low launch player, well, 2-iron's not going to carry more than the 5-iron. So you've got to then play the fairway wood or a hybrid to flight it. So it's always going to be different player to player. So there's no, like we were saying with swings, there's no hard and fast rule. It's just what works for you.
So let's have a little look with the driver. So I'm just going to hit one more, and I'm just going to try and get as much out of this as I possibly can. I mean, I'm still quite pleased. I've got 300 up on the screen there. Have we got that up on the TV there, James? If we could just please, thank you very much. If you can all check at the top of the screen, I have hit it 300 yards.
Not competitive.
Not. It's not on. It's not on carry. So I'm going to try and go for as long as I've got, and then we're going to get Matt Hyatt in. Next week, hopefully, if he can be brave enough. Oh, I hit that good.
173. That's not bad.
110. Look,
110,
as a 46-year-old man, budding seniors tour guy, I'm going to step away. On you go. Let's see what you've got, Simon. Let's see what you've got. Because I want to come on to the ultimate long drive, obviously on tour, Bryson DeChambeau, in a moment, and have a little chat about what he's done over the years. Oh, I'm 0.2 faster than you. But I fear,
on swing.
But I fear you're going to be able to beat that.
I'm going to get massively overexcited and lose all technique and miss the ball completely.
Balls are now becoming...
No, did you notice the silence when I hit that? 'Cause I thought, oh, that felt quite good.
Red arrows. Oh, that was a good one. That was a good one.
Okay. Right, I'll put a bit of effort into this one.
Oh, okay. I got you. This is where all of the viewers are dropping off, seeing two old men only swing it sub 110. But let me tell you, when Matt Hyatt comes in, it'll be going straight through that wall. Oh, he gave that a little, good ball speed on that one. So, yeah, there you go. He's beaten me by 0.3. Okay, well done.
Honours even.
Honours even. So let's talk.
Two old men swinging golfers.
So let's talk about Bryson. I mean, he has. I mean, you look back to Bay Hill. I mean, that was such a time in golf when he was box office. Yeah. You know, standing on that tee at Bay Hill, the par 5 round the corner, potential of whipping it onto that green. Yeah. Golf has really taken a turn, hasn't it? And, you know, in terms of what's gone on. But let's just, before we talk about that, I mean, you know, Bryson's very outspoken with the science behind his game. Obviously, the length of the clubs that he's used. I mean, I couldn't personally think of anything worse than using a long sand iron lob wedge. I think, you know, chipping around the greens, bunker play, when you see him, I just can't even imagine how that goes on. How many people have walked in on the back of seeing Bryson play single length golf clubs and request it? And
not that many. Not that many. I think.
And out of the people that have requested it, how many have actually had the club speed to be able to deliver that?
It's a couple of bits. I think it's only quite rightly so. I mean, Bryson, love him or hate him, the good side, I think, about him is he provokes thought. He provokes a little bit of conversation, and from a fitting point of view, we've gone, would that work? So there has been that little bit of, he's made everyone kind of look at things a bit different and go, is this the right way of doing it? I think the single length clubs there are pros and cons. There are pros and cons. I think if you're someone who's never played the game before, you've only got to learn one setup. And so it's less variations, less ball position changes, less posture changes. But the downside of that is there's a reason why Seve used to grip down almost on the steel of a wedge shaft, because the closer you are to the head, the more you can manipulate it. So he's an incredibly talented player, and so he can make it work. I think he's decided this is the way I'm doing it, and this is the right way for me, and so down that route he's gone. And the upside for him is that he can hit a wedge higher than anyone else, because the longer shaft length, more club speed, wider lever, sends it higher. Yeah. Shallow angle attack, if he wants to. But there's an awful lot of club to control. And amateur golfers, we see it whenever we do a gapping, pitch rate is fine, 9 iron's good, 8 iron's fine, and then strike starts to tail off. So there's a reason why when you're getting to 7-6 iron or longer, most recreational golfers technically are just not able to control the club as well when the longer lengths as they are the shorter lengths, which is why most players hit their short irons better. So I can understand the physics of it, I can understand the principle of it, but in practice, it 99% of the time, for the players that we've seen, particularly in the wedges, it falls down. Yeah. And I think that's why if he's on with his short game, he's up there or winning, and if he's off, he's not quite nowhere, but it's a big difference. Yeah.
And I think it's really the first and only player really at the moment that is using something that's so far away from the mainstream, isn't it? I mean, there's so much of a hot potato with the golf ball and trying to choose a different golf ball from tour level, and I think the more you move tour golf away from the day-to-day golfer, I think you're losing the appeal, because he's using what I'm using. You know, whether that's good or bad for you doesn't matter. But the point is that Bryson is using a set of golf clubs that no one's using, and I think that's okay. He's been able to make it work.
But he's unique.
And that's
he's
the point,
using a
right?
5-degree driver, and his lofts are because he's got so much. I mean, if you think, you know, we're let's say golfers as total, we're long. You know, 300 yards is a long hit, 110 mile an hour club speed. But ultimately, he's at 140.
Yeah.
He's competed in the long drive stuff, and actually everyone expects him to embarrass himself, and he held his own there. So,
yeah, absolutely.
But this is a guy who's, relative to what everyone else is playing, he's effectively a bit of a freak to get to that speed. So his clubs are going to be different. The lofts on his irons are because if he played standard lofts, the spin would be through the roof. So to get the flight control and everything, he's got to set them up differently. But that's also where, again, the single length stuff, you don't have a progression in club speed, or as much of a progression in club speed through the set, because you haven't got a length progression. So they do use standard shafts, so there's a slight weight progression rather than all being the same shaft, dead weight. But you're losing some of that extra swing energy to generate extra distance. So the loft gaps have got to be bigger to create the distance gaps between clubs, so you inevitably have fewer clubs. And that can create some issues. You lose a bit of swing plane shallowing to launch it in the longer irons, all those sort of things. So, but yeah, so to go back to Bryson, he is
Unique,
incredible player. Yeah.
So we've got looks like we've got a few more questions coming in. Lovely. So we've got Joshua Meeking. Welcome along, Joshua. Switching to a hybrid after my loving the videos, guys. Are you able to get stock of the new Scotty Cameron Jet Set putters? Sold out everywhere.
We've had one, and it's already sold before it even came in. Our rep is actually in on Monday, and I'm going to speak to him about what the situation is. Scotty Cameron, a product across the board this year has been very difficult. It's been a really difficult situation because they've had no stock. It's been, we had an allocation for the year to date of, I think it was about 18, and delivery dates that they were meant to come in, and some of them that were due in July. One's being dropped off on Monday by our rep, and question's been incredibly patient, but it's been a massive problem because Scotty's never been volume. So basically, when he's out, and that's kind of what happened. So the Jet Set stuff is quite dear.
Yes. How
they
much
look
are
pretty. They're £600 a putter.
Right.
They look pretty. They're nice black heads.
I'd play that to hold putts.
But they're. I'm not 100% certain how limited they're going to be. Pretty limited, because like anything Scotty Cameron that has limited, on it, they sell out before they've even hit the shops. So it's going to be tough to get hold of, I think, with those. Okay. Yeah, sadly.
Sorry, Josh. So we have Ant Lockyer saying those spin numbers. I'm tipping our spin. What were our spin
they're on the
numbers?
lower side. So you've got to have to get. So I will. The change in technique, I've flighted it down a little bit, but yeah. So for a lot of players, they're going to be too low. Like if you get like the 1500s, the Toei one that just looped over.
Yeah.
So what happens? From a fitting point of view, we're looking at different spin and launch depending on someone's angle of attack and club speed. So at 160 odd miles an hour ball speed, the more you go up in club speed and ball speed, the more important not letting spin get too high is. Spin is the key thing to distance at higher speeds, as in low spin. As with everything, there's too high and too low. But you're generally, if you can get your ball speed up above 160, you can cope with a spin rate just under 2,000. So for that swing at 3.5 up, 14 launch, 1500's on the bottom end. That's going to lose carry, but then it runs out miles. So you'd probably be looking at, for that swing, I'd be more comfortable with it being at 2,000. Right. My last one
was that you or me? That one. I think
that was you.
It was me, wasn't it?
That was you. So,
but my driver is absolutely a low. Always. I'm a low spinner anyway.
Yeah. So like the last one of mine at 10 and 1800, it's right on the bottom end of where I'd want to see the flight. Where I've always historically got under it and launched it more, the action change has brought my flight down. So I'm probably going to change the back end of this year just because I need something different from the club head.
And what's the loft on your driver?
It's 8.5.
8.5. So I've got 10.5 on mine. We swing it at same club head speed, let's say. Now I know if I pick Simon's driver up, that thing will not take off. So I think that'd be quite interesting. Yeah. Yep. And you have a go with mine, right?
I think
that's really quite telling. I'm now going to go for my 115 miles an hour club swing. I'm just going to
Yep.
throw that out there.
We got the ambulance ready?
Well, it's more the chiropractor actually, but Stu's upstairs, so he's working
perfect.
today.
Yeah, he can sort us
so
both
he
out
can sort
afterwards,
that out. So I just figure that that's going to be okay. Oh, that might be.
Oh, good, good.
Wow.
Yeah, so that one, going back to Ant's point, that's a safer spin rate.
Can we just?
What, 2 yards?
I mean, that's
I don't mind.
as good as I've got. Yeah. Right. So I'm now going to hit your drive, and then you do the
yeah.
same, and then you do the same, because there is no chance.
And yes, we haven't grown up. We never will. Yeah. I vow to never grow up.
And so, because there is nothing worse to me than looking down at an 8.5-degree driver.
Too low loft is, you could argue, is worse than too much. You know, too much, yes, it flights and spins and comes a bit shorter, but at least it gets in the air. So, yeah, and for one that's gone right always goes higher.
Yes, of
So
course.
for one that's gone right, that's, if we go flip between those two shots, you've got 300 rows less spin, but you've got 3/4 degree less launch. If you square that up, that flight's coming down even more.
I can't promise I can square that up with me at 100. Have I got to 115 yet? No, I haven't. No, okay, that's fine. Oh, yeah, I don't feel like I can square it up. I don't feel like I can.
Squaring up to go right, it's squirting out low.
Yeah.
So that's going to make you inevitably to get it up, to back up and try to launch it, and then you're going to bring in, on course, you might bring in a massive block right or a hook.
Yeah, I mean, it feels
so
like
you've got to really change your pattern
Yeah.
to get it airborne.
I immediately feel like I've got to put that so far outside my left foot to square it up. Yeah. Oh, no, it's not for
Yeah,
me.
and so
That.
there, 1700 odd spin. So but you can see how your angle of attack's gone to 7 up,
Yeah,
which
to make that work.
is then bringing in some really nasty impact positions and shot flights if you get it slightly wrong.
That feels so much like hard work to me.
Yeah.
And yet,
And a bit of it's the balance of it. I've always
Yeah.
needed a bit of weight in the bottom end.
but I think it's fascinating that at 110 miles an hour, how it can feel and be so different.
Yeah. So, so for me, I should be able to get.
Just to let you know, 112.2.
I'm not wearing my gloves, so I'm going to lose speed here.
Oh, okay, right, okay, gotcha.
So, difference for me there is that
Yeah.
launch and spin proportionate to launch.
Yes.
As I say, my action having changed has brought my ball flight down.
Yeah.
Noticeably, because I'm not moving off it, back on, underneath, and flipping it up. So my need for the lower lofty club, I still need a low spin head, but I can get away with a bit more loft than I used to. Let's come out of that a little bit, so that's going to go high right.
So now I have a little go at my. Don't break it. I mean, I don't let many people hit my driver.
Yeah.
I've got to tell you
So
something.
it's safe as houses.
I mean, the minute I break that drive, it feels like my game is going to go through the.
Yeah, and it's interesting because for you looking at mine, you can't see the face. I look at it and go, "Wow, what a lot of loft on it."
No, it probably looks like a 5 would.
And it just has that feel of a little left as well. So left for me has always been my miss. So
Sure.
anything that looks left, I automatically, so I'm trying to get my hands ahead. So it's just swing as per. That's so far out the heel. But that's where, again, from a club point of view, mine's tip weighted, yours is more of an even balance. So for me, I kind of throw it. So I'm going to have to change my timing a little bit to get it to.
But straight out the bag, I mean, that's gone significantly left, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm just flipping the toe over on that.
Sure.
Yeah. And it's not a flex thing, I'll see if I can actually square one to get the launch difference for you, but it's just my patterns are different to yours, so we need the weight in different places.
It's fascinating.
Let's give it one more.
And I think it's this sort of stuff that you've worked that one a bit better. It's
But you can see with the spin.
yeah. I mean, all of a sudden, the same guys producing 110. They're just people in old money. That's all right. You just need the same flex shaft.
And you can see what I've had to do with my club speed is bring that down to not whip
Make
it
it go
over.
left,
So
yeah.
I've had to rein it back. I can manage it and I can find a shot out of it, but And this is the thing, when you get in a situation on course, you've got a tight tee shot, you've got a pressure shot. The one thing you don't have to do is try to control your action.
No.
You want to just stand and deliver. So I've slightly heeled it, caught it, reined the swing speed back, and it's gone to a 3-wood shot.
Well, I'm pleased that you don't like my driver, because there's
Yeah.
no chance of you stealing it out of my bag
Good.
anytime soon. So I want to, obviously we talked about Bryson DeChambeau. We're going to answer a few more questions. We're going to come on to that in a moment. So stay with us, and if you've got any questions about the Live Golf stuff, obviously fire them in. Matt Hyatt back on. He said, absolutely buttoned, nothing but class on strike as usual. Stuart, I mean, clearly after a free session. After a free session, he's never been that nice to me in person.
I mean, that would be quite something to have a look at that. Actually,
Yeah, absolutely. We'll definitely, hopefully, Matt, if you're up for it, come on the show next week. That would be fantastic. Dave Hurley, thanks for tuning in, Dave. Brilliant video, guys. Will you be doing a putter fitting soon? Hello from Cardiff. Yes, we are going to be doing a putter fitting. We were due to be in the studio today. There was a few technical issues. This kind of computer capacity. We've got a lot going on in the studio, and it was just a touch of a stretch, but we've adjusted that. So next week we'll be back up there. So stay tuned in for that. Are you enjoying the new putting studio?
I am, yeah. No, it's the amount of having the extra layers of technology as well. The Quintuck and the sand to really look at the ball roll side of it, and even just things like some of the tools that we've got that Mike's brought in to look at the aiming side of it. So how you see straight, which bit are you looking at? So there's a tool which is sort of a T line where you set it up absolutely in line with the hole, and then initially line up with the line towards the hole and see where that looks like. So for me, I see that left. So I've always been a right aimer and a puller, and so for me, the line direct to the hole looks to the left of the hole. But if I use the perpendicular line, that looks much straighter.
Interesting.
So I've got to use the face of the putter rather than the line markings. And all of those bits in particular, if you can't aim, you've got nothing.
No.
If you can't aim it, you can't develop your pace control, you can't develop your green reading, and then basically you're just going to miss putts.
Yeah.
Unless you happen to misread it as well, and then happen to misread it, misaim it, and it goes in. So
and then,
I think that side, the subtleties of that, I find fascinating.
And of course, you get people stepping in behind and watching people hit their putt down that line. It's probably arguably the worst thing you can do, because they're hitting different strikes, different spins, different launches, different energy, and they're reading it completely different. And then what you're going to try and do is use that as a way to read your putt. Your best bet is to steer clear of it. And
well, you said the launch differences, again, seeing how much, when the true roll starts, what something's launching at. Well, if it's bouncing, it's not running, it's not taking the break. So, as you say, standing watching someone else hit, the very end of the putt, you might get an idea on what it does, but the first half, potentially of the stroke, you might get a completely wrong kind of steer on what's going on if their role is different to yours.
Of course. So stay tuned. As I say, next week we're going to be in the putter studio, and we're also going to be doing them live fittings as well with the putting. So stay tuned for that. If you are new to the channel, welcome along. Click subscribe, share with your friends. It's nice to have you here. And if you've got any questions, feel free to jump in. Chris Powell, studio setup looks great, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris. That's very nice of you to say so. AQ, again, lovely. There's a world of difference between the pro game and the amateur game and recreational golfers. I think that is the beauty of the game, isn't it?
It is, but I think it's the key thing for the amount of people who come in recently and said, I enjoy watching the ladies' game more because it's more in tune with what I play.
Relatable.
And that's a key thing. I think the men's tour for me it's a bit like, you wouldn't compare yourself to Usain Bolt. I'll have a race with him. And historically, a lot of golfers have compared their games with the tour pros. But you can't. They're such athletes now, and the distance, they're so much further that it's great to watch and to see the best doing what they do. But actually, let's not compare ourselves. There's no point you and I comparing ourselves to those guys, because they're hitting club and a half, 2 clubs further than us. They're hitting balls every day. They're doing things that we can't physically achieve. So it's great to see as a spectacle, but much more relevant to watch, the likes of, Georgia Hall and, Charlie Howell and the girls on tour, because they're hitting it the distance that most good amateur golfers are hitting it, a 260-yard drive.
Yeah.
So you'll learn much more about how to plot your way around a golf course watching the girls than the guys.
Yeah, for sure. And Ant Lockyer is part of the supply issue because more people are playing. You guys must be very busy.
Yeah, it's accumulation of several things. Over the last 2 years have thrown up a lot of complications. Part of it is, golf's been so busy. From when we came out of the lockdowns, we had 10-week. After the second lockdown, we had over 100 people to book back in who'd had bookings, which we had to rearrange from the second lockdown. And we've seen a lot of players who've come back to play. So who'd had, whether it's work, family, just life generally didn't afford them the time to play. And actually the flexibility of doing some days at home, some in the office now, is giving people time to play. The flexibility to play early and then maybe work through a little bit later, or work early and play in the evenings. So they've rediscovered golf, and a lot of players are properly back in. So that's part of it. Some of it is just that a lot of rubber went to PPE. So grips with 40 grips by Golf Pride have been frozen, production-wise.
Which I was fascinated about. Freezing runs on grips because they just need to prioritise.
Just make the ones that are most popular.
What are popular.
Yeah. And if you think how much rubber's in a jumbo grip versus a standard, how many extra grips could they make? So all of those bits, it's not just PPE. Demand for rubber, full stop, went up. Steel shaft, steel tube, globally, whether it's scaffolding, bikes, bike frames, golf shafts, steel demand was up. And then you've got the supply issues from factories being on smaller staffing levels, capacity dropping 25%. And there is no spare capacity. They're running the just-in-time method of manufacturing production. There are instances where a lorry would turn up to a factory expecting to park up in a plot and unload all their goods. Well, there's still a lorry there from the previous one that hasn't been able to unload, so they've had to drive off again. So you're getting all these stops in production, restrictions in production, shipping costs have gone up massively. So less regular shipments, where they used to just air freight something if they needed to get it over quick. Can't do that anymore, it costs too much, without passing too much on the consumer. So there are lots of complications.
Lots of cogs that are slowing it down. Good illustration of why fitting is important. I assume Ant's referring to the two drivers there. Absolutely.
My inability to hit your one.
Absolutely. And that's quite. And obviously, what was interesting is that my driver made me hit it straight. Your one made me slice it.
Yeah.
My driver in your hands completely reversed,
yeah.
right? And I think that's really important to reference. So AQ, I only wish I could play like Jess Corder. I think we're all in that boat, right?
Oh.
I'd love to play some golf like Jess.
Their swings are amazing, yeah.
So over the top golf. Thanks for joining in, and thanks for your question. Looks great, guys. Are your demo driver shafts 45-inch? Thoughts on different OEM driver lengths?
So we graduate them a little bit. So the lightest ones, we've got some. We're fortunate with the system we use that we can, with the Unifit tip, we can actually put the ones that are cut for fairway wood in driver as well. So we've got the lighter weights around 45-inch, and as they get heavier, we make them a little bit shorter. But we will avoid going over 45 inches if we can. We fit more people into 43.5-inch, would be the equivalent of putting the 3-wood length trimmed shafts into a driver, than we would go over 45. Because from a coaching point of view, we said before, technique is so key to deliver a long club, strike the middle of the face. It strikes king at the top bit of the bag. And if you go an inch shorter, you lose a couple of miles an hour club speed. But if you strike the middle of the club face, you gain 8-9 miles an hour ball speed. And the spin stays stable, and you hit it straighter. So the gains on a shorter length shaft, your average length on tour is 44.5 inches. Maybe they're creeping a bit longer now to maximise speed for distance, because for them, they're kind of the priority of the driver is close to the green, score better. But they've got incredible short games as well. But so they're creeping more towards 45 inches now, a standard. But if you think retail, off-the-rack drivers have been up near 46 inches in the past. Now, why are you asking an 18 handicapper to use a club 1.5 inches longer than the average on tour? Ridiculous. And then people wonder why they spray it. So it's a mixture of, yes, in theory, longer length equals more speed, but misdirected speed's useless. Yeah. So that's why we would be from generally between 44.5 and 45 for a standard sort of driver length, but invariably we'll be bidding more towards 44, 44 and a half in order to get quality of strike.
But we have the option to give people.
But we've got, with some of the shafts we've got in the technically set up for fairway woods, fairway wood shafts, 99% of wood shafts are designed primarily for driver. There are just some that work better in fairway woods because of their bend profiles and weight patterns. So invariably we've got the same shaft in the two lengths and can physically prove whether shorter or longer is better. Yeah. But you're doing it based on someone's ability to make contact. So it's a mixture of technique and strength and generally kind of like, you could argue, athletic ability. But again, it's like we said with the irons, it's why a lot of people hit the 3 woods better, because they're 2 inches shorter.
Yeah, for sure.
So
I mean, we've touched on it a few times that we're going to talk about it, and I think it's live golf is certainly the topic across the golfing world at the moment, and it's really creating a divide. I wanted to bring it up today, and it was really my desire to talk about it purely from the standpoint. I'm just going to come around here, Simon, so we get a bit more of the bay in. So we're going to. So with regards to live, I think they've made ripples in the water. I mean, that's an understatement. I think that from outside looking in, and we're not privy to all of the extra bits that goes on behind the scenes. I think we're told a bit of a message of why it's bad for us. Of course, we're going to park, and people won't like it. We're going to park what goes on in Saudi Arabia and where the money's coming from just for a moment. We're just going to talk about purely the upset that this divide is creating. My thoughts on it are that golf pros are independent contractors. They want to earn as much money as they can, and a few points that guys have been cherry picking tour events on the European Tour forever, and now the PGA Tour don't like it that they've got their PGA Tour members coming back and wanting to cherry pick events on the PGA Tour. And Billy Horschel, I was watching, making that very point, and he was the one that cherry-picked our BMW PGA Championship last year and came over and won. And what is slightly upsetting from my standpoint, being involved with the Tour, is that they've been very quick to jump in bed with the PGA Tour and have missed a bit of an opportunity to be the Tour that, like the Asian Tour, they could be the one that Tour players, PGA Tour players that didn't go back to the PGA Tour, they could come over and play on the European Tour. And the PGA Tour, let's be honest, they've been trying to up the European Tour forever. And then all of a sudden, this relationship, like they've been long lost brothers, that's kind of where I'm at with it all. And I think how I see it playing out is that the dust is going to settle, and unfortunately, the man with the bigger pocket is going to win by hook or by crook. So I wanted to get that off my chest and throw it out to the people watching and yourself. What's your take on where live golf is?
I think the saddest bit is the split in the game that's happened. I don't lay that. I think for me, and 99.9% of people who I've spoken to, obviously it's something we talk about during fits. It's a point of interest. No one cares.
No.
The only thing people care about, and what I want out of this ultimately, is I just want to watch really great golf. I want to watch the top players playing really good courses. I want to watch interesting golf, and I watch a variety of golf that keeps me interested. I probably watch the majors, the Players' Championship, Harbour Town, Wentworth. I don't watch much else because it's just not interesting. I think I wouldn't criticise the players for going, because I think, Laurie Cantor did a great article in one of the papers a few weeks back. He said, 3 years in a row he lost his card. So he's now got a mortgage and a young child and the security he's now got. You can't criticise someone for doing that. It's their own decision. You do what you like. I just think competition's good. I think the lack of engagement at the beginning of it all ultimately is probably why we're where we are now. The fact that there just wasn't a conversation between the Tour and the guys at LIV. And so where do you think it's going to go from there? You tell someone to stick it pretty much by not even having a conversation, then they're going to do something about it. So I just think it's very sad that we've now got a point where it's going to go to the courts. It's going to be another 18 months because that's how long it takes. And it's the main focal point, it's the main talking point, not what's going on the course. I've said for a while, I think the coverage of golf has been very safe. It's a great investment for the corporates, for the sponsors. It's a great demographic for them to invest into. It's an honourable sport in that you call a penalty on yourself. It's great in all those aspects. But there's been very little done with the coverage. I think, to be fair to European Tour, they've tried hard, much harder than US Tour over the last few years, with the par threes at the checks on the moment, par threes where an amateur comes and hits a shot, with some of I remember years back at Wentworth, there used to be the skills challenge that Sevi and Monty and Faldo, Lathable and Langer always used to do. I'd love to watch a par 3 tournament. What does everyone want to watch at Augusta? The par 3 because it's fun.
Sure.
Just not another 70-hole tournament. And yes, they've got the match play, but I just think there's so much more they could do that would produce basically a better product for the consumer. And has that not got to be what they're looking for? That's got to be the goal, is to produce the best product for the consumer. And if this eventually, once it all plays out, gives us the consumers who just love the game for what it is, take out all the money, take out where it comes from. We love watching the best players play. It's like watching the Olympics. They're the best of the best, and it's once every 4 years, and you're glued to the screen for the 2 weeks it's on, and then the Paralympics afterwards, because it's fascinating to watch the best quality. And I just want that to be the end goal. Yes. I don't care where it comes from. No. In terms of whether it's Liv that end up doing it, whether it's the main tours, the PGA European tours, I just would quite like them to just
kiss and make up
like adults and just sit down and sort this out for the good of the game. Everyone talks about the good of the game. Well, what's going on now is not the good of the game. No. And it's not someone playing here and someone playing there. It's this going on between the tours that is awful for the game. Yeah, absolutely. So I'd just love them to just sort it out.
Yeah, and if you've got anything to add on that, I think feel free to comment in the box below. We'll answer where we can, and maybe we'll touch on this next time on the show. What's coming up next week? We're going to have, all being well, Matt Hyatt on the show, hitting some shots. We're going to be in the putting studio as well. We're going to try and work that so we can link up a bit of putting studio and a bit of bay as well. We're going to get Kate Davey on as well, our strength and conditioning lady. Check out her warm-up, golf warm-up that comes out every Friday on Fitness Fridays, 9 a.m. You'll find that on the channel. Anything more you'd like to add this week, Simon?
I don't think so.
It's been a great week in the studio.
It's been a good week, yeah, and it's there's not where we kind of covered everything.
Yeah, and we really appreciate your engagement on all of our social media
Thanks for commenting.
Yeah, check us out on Instagram. We're on Twitter. We're also in LinkedIn, Facebook. There's loads coming your way in terms of content. We've got really such a great base to show you what we can offer your game in terms of performance. If you've enjoyed everything on the show, click the like button, share and subscribe, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week. 12 o'clock on Friday. Thanks for watching.
Thanks a lot.